Okay, so there's a lot of news to talk about today in regards to Stellar Blade and Sony censorship, and Shift Up deciding to release some previously unseen outfits for Eve in the game Stellar Blade. I guess they are craftable costumes that you can create for her in the game. There's still some controversy about this, though, because some people are saying that there are other alterations they're making. Some people are viewing this as like a massive win. But let's just kind of like break this down piece by piece and see what all the controversy and discussion's about. So you can see this tweet from Grummz saying, "We did it, you did it. Free Stellar Blade celebrates as Shift Up and Stellar Blade uncensor outfits." Now, again, I think this is a bit of a stretch. I'm not trying to be too much of a naysayer, but it's not that they've uncensored things. It's that they've created or altered, I guess, already existing outfits that you can now get in the game. I don't know if this is something that they had to do behind Sony's back, that Shift Up was like, okay, we'll just try to sneak these in here in a patch or an update. That remains to be seen. But the tweet here continues saying, "Thank you everyone who participated in the 8-step plan and the petition. Please sign the petition, which will now be sent as a gift to Shift Up. Gamer voices are small but growing. Our wins will be bigger and bigger over time." So you can see the link here to the petition on change.org, which is up to 91,453 signatures. Oh, sorry, 472. So it's probably going to hit about 92,000, 93,000 before it times out. Pretty impressive. I don't know that it's going to do anything. Unfortunately, it's one of these situations where change.org petitions don't have much effect on Asian culture, corporate culture over there. A lot of these people say, yeah, you're better off to send letters in person than you are to sign some sort of petition and demand change online. That being said, Kotaku is, of course, having another freak out about it. Ethan Gok, whatever his name is, I'm not going to say what it rhymes with. He is over here saying that Free Stellar Blade movement can't decide if the new outfits are sexy enough. And of course, right out of the gate, he says, "Stellar Blade is an excellent sci-fi action game that a small, ill-defined number of unhinged gamers have latched onto as the latest front in a made-up culture war on boobies." Now, again, this is something where you can just tell that Kotaku has the utmost contempt for gamers, which is sad because they are, in fact, a gaming outlet, gaming journalists. But of course, they're supposed to be making game guides, and yet here we are with them still criticizing gamers. So they talked about how there's a new patch that has released additional costumes, but not everyone's satisfied. And of course, you've seen where, yeah, that's pretty revealing. There's new suits in addition to the white Kanochi and black Kanochi. There's now Midsummer Red Hood and Midsummer Alice outfits available to buy and craft. But he points out that there's a lot of people debating whether or not this is better or worse due to the fact that there's transparency levels that have been changed, and we'll get into that in a second. So, Veridark, I think I'm on her side when it comes down to all this, tweeted out earlier today, "While the new Stellar Blade outfits are a win, the game was not uncensored. All previously censored outfits are still so. All they did was add 2 similar outfits that are, quote, uncensored. Even the similar bunny one adds tights to cover some of the skin. I think they look amazing and really enjoyed the base game, but don't praise Sony. They didn't listen to us. This was most likely snuck in by Shift Up," which is, I think, 100% likely what happened. So I said, I agree. I don't understand how people are praising this as some sort of win. Grim Universe Comics replied and said, "It's a win in the sense that the devs know what we want. It's also more proof the original outfits were not censored for puritanical reasons. There's a rumor that the 3 outfits were altered as a suggestion by legal because of copyright. 3 of the outfits have real-world equivalents. It's possible that the legal team, upon fearing negative responses from the clothing's original creator, that keeping them verbatim would be an easy suit against them." I'm not sure about that. I'd have to look that up. If that's true, that's a really interesting thing that I hadn't thought of before about copyrights and trademarks and all that stuff, and not wanting to open themselves up to some sort of weird potential lawsuit. But again, Packer Girl has the side-by-side comparison where you can see that the transparency levels have changed. It seems like they've altered the costume on the right in the patch to look like she's wearing less, but they've decreased the transparency. Again, this is not something that I would necessarily split hairs over personally. I get why people are upset over it. I think in general, all it points to is the fact that things are not going to be the way that they were originally thought to be when they released the game, and they released the trailers, and you can even see in the tutorials in the game that they still have the unpatched costumes as like the pictures in the tutorial versus the costumes you can actually acquire in the game, obviously. Grummz replied about this entire transparency issue saying, "I have the story on the Kanochi outfit for Stellar Blade. It was not available to unlock in the original patch version, and nobody knew about it until today. You would have to unlock it today, then downpatch it to see the version on the left. This wasn't promised and then censored. Nobody knew about it until today. The new unlock, which was today's patch, looks like the one on the right. So again, that would be a thing. It's like if this is the way the costume was intended to be released and this one was never available, then I'll give them that. That at least makes sense. But of course, we cannot go on without having another, quote, games journalist criticizing this entire situation over Free Stellar Blade and the controversy with Sony censorship. Paul Tassi over at Forbes, who I guess some people have a modicum of respect for as a games journalist. I don't have much respect for anybody in the entire industry, to be fair. This article from That Park Place says the Forbes video games writer Paul Tassi that Shift Up introduced new sexy outfits to Stellar Blade. And you would think that this is being like a little hyperbolic. I know. I have some criticisms from people in the comments section and on Twitter who think that That Park Place and a lot of us are just like the right-wing SJW versions of Kotaku. That being said, that doesn't mean that That Park Place is wrong. Just because you have an opinion that they are some sort of like right-wing SJW rag, that doesn't mean that the story is inaccurate. So this article says, Shift Up released a new patch for Stellar Blade and detailed the changes on X. The company added a new boss challenge mode that allows players to replay against defeated bosses in multiple settings. It also introduced a new costume called Neuralink Suit that unlocks after a player defeats all bosses. And you can see that there's that suit right there. But the really fun part is when you get down here to where Paul Tassi is. It says, while Kern celebrated, Tassi bemoaned the introduction of the new outfits, writing at Forbes, the bad part of this is that the culture war folks here have been rewarded for their frankly ridiculous campaign lambasting this game. The developers, Sony, everyone for the original outfit changes to some sort of conspiracy which did not exist. The outfits themselves are fine. Again, there are a dozen outfits at least that's revealing in the game, but this being a, quote, reward for this group and their behavior is not a great look. Again, cope and seethe. He also reacted to a post from Grummz pointing out that he was upset, writing, do not care about how the new Stellar Blade outfits look, they're fine. Giving these guys a win absolutely sucks, and they'll be dining out on it forever, so yeah, I'm not thrilled about it. And you can see Grummz replied and said, how is this not winning? Your enemy is reeling. And again, that's true. For us gamers, your ideological enemy in this situation is the games media. It's not the developers per se. It's the activists in the games development industry, the ones who are doing all the sensitivity reading, the narrative directors, the social media managers, and of course, the games media running cover for them. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people are giving Sony, or I guess Shift Up, both a little too much credit, because a lot of people have considered this a win, that somehow this is a win against Sony, when the reality is Sony is not really changing anything. Sony hasn't allowed them to, or given any indication that they intend to uncensor a lot of the stuff that they have censored in the past, including Stellar Blade. In fact, if you look at Helldivers 2, a lot of people are freaking out because the player count is currently dropping massively day after day. Currently, right now, it's sitting at about 68,000 in-game. And that's on Steam, obviously. I mean, the game's available on PlayStation as well. But you remember, after this controversy where a lot of players were required to create a PSN account to play Helldivers 2, and then they backed off of that, I think that basically burned out a lot of the goodwill people had for PlayStation, for Sony, or desire to even play the game. Not to mention that there's still 144, somewhere in the close to 200 regions or countries that can't currently play this game anymore after they required the PSN account. Not to mention we've seen them do this with Ghost of Tsushima as well, that nearly 200 countries and territories will not be able to play the multiplayer due to the fact that you have to have a PlayStation account. In fact, I'm not sure if it's just the multiplayer or if they're pulling it from the Steam store entirely in those regions. So while a lot of people are counting this as some sort of win, and I get it, it's nice to win one once in a while, to quote Kevin from The Office, sometimes it feels good just to win one. Unfortunately, I think that this is a very, very small victory in terms of the ongoing war with Sony and censorship. And I would just say, don't count your chickens too soon. Don't expect that Sony is going to suddenly, turn over a new leaf and start doing things the right way, because this is a company that has shown in the past that they are massively anti-gamer, pro-censorship, and that they really don't care about anybody's feelings or opinions when it comes down to it. So I'm going to leave it right there. We're going to start the live stream in a few minutes. We are going to be finishing Hellblade 2 tonight, hopefully. Would love to see you guys there, and I will catch you next. All right, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for being here. I do have two channels, Minimal Effort Podcast, as well as my gaming channel. I do have a Twitch and Kick Forma gaming channel. We do live streams over there occasionally, maybe once a week. And then if you are in the market for a new PC, make sure to check out Meta PCs. Click the link I have down below. Use code TBO at checkout for a special discount. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.